Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of this YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to discuss from the drama The Merchant of Venice, Act 4, Scene 1. I have already prepared a video on Act 1, Scene 1 and so many students have requested me to make a video on Act 4, Scene 1 since it's going to be the syllabus for the ICSE examination 2023. Please watch this video without skipping anything. Without wasting time, let's get into this video guys. This video is going to be The Merchant of Venice, Act 4, Scene 1. When Act 4 Scene 1 begins, we have certain characters on the stage. They are the Duke, the Magnificos, Antonio, Bassanio, Cesario and Graciano and the attendants. See, attendants are the court officials, okay? So Duke himself is the judge here at the court. So this is very important part to understand. Most of you get confused when you read this scene, because it's a court scene and you don't see a court judge there. You see a duke, so you have to understand the duke himself is the judge in the court. Okay, it's going to be quite interesting. Why? Because audience already know that Shylock is very angry that he wants a pound of flesh from Antonio, and in the court Shylock is going to ask for his justice. That's a pound of flesh from Antonio, and that is going to cut from the very nearest of his chest, the very nearest of his heart. In those times the surgeries and transplantations are not that so prominent, and years back, if a person cut a pound of flesh from a person's near of his chest or near of his heart, of course his intention is to kill him. And now in one side Shylock is demanding for Antonio's a pound of flesh, and other side Antonio's friends like Bassanio, Graciano, Celanio and the Duke himself all are asking Shylock to forgive Antonio and have mercy. And Shylock is very adamant, he's very stubborn, he doesn't want to forgive it to Antonio. So this is what actually we're going to see in this scene. And also one more thing is here, you will see something very interesting, that Portia herself disguised as a lawyer and comes to the court and saves Antonio. So there are so many suspenses in this scene that we will discuss on the way. Okay, so stay tuned and watch this video. Let's begin. The first dialogue is from Duke. Duke says, "What is Antonio here?" Oh, what means? Well, is Antonio here? So Antonio is a criminal now on this court, and Shylock is going to claim the forfeiture from Antonio. So the main person here is Antonio. So Duke asks the court officials, "Well, is there Antonio here?" So Antonio says, "Ready, so please your grace." Antonio says, "I'm ready. I'm ready, your grace." See, when you go to the court, you don't address the judges. "I'm here, judge." No, you say, "Your honor," right? You call the judges your honor. So Antonio called the judges, "Your grace, I'm ready. I'm already prepared myself. I'm here, your grace." Now Duke says, "I'm sorry for thee." Though, see, Duke himself feels sorry for Antonio. A judge, somebody has to not feel any partiality, any bias feeling towards anyone. But Duke himself says that, "I feel sorry for you. I feel very pity on you." So by the time you can understand, why the Duke himself feel pity for Antonio, because his condition is that so pathetical. And Antonio is a good man. Everybody likes him. So the Duke himself says, "I feel so sorry for you, Antonio. Thou art come to answer a stony adversary." See, this is the very reason that Duke feel, sorry for Antonio. He says that you have come here. You are here to answer a stony adversary. Stony adversary means, stony means heart, right? Stony adversary. You have come to answer a person with hard-hearted or a stone-hearted person. It's referring to Shylock. You have come to the court to answer, to plead mercy to a person who is having a heart just as stone, a stony-hearted person. Okay, an opponent with hard-hearted. And then he says, "An inhuman wretch." A person who is never touched with human feelings, an inhuman wretch who does not have a human feelings, incapable of pity. Here, incapable means incapable. Okay, a person who is incapable of pity. See, sometimes some people used to be so stubborn and very adamant, but in some situations they feel pity on somebody. They move with compassion because it's human nature. But here the judge says Shylock is incapable of pity. It means even if Shylock wants to show mercy, he cannot. Why? Because he is incapable to show pity. He is incapable to move with the feeling of compassion. And void and empty. Void means devoid. Okay, he is empty from the perspective of dram of mercy. Dram means even a small quantity. Dram means even a small quantity. He is empty, he is devoid, even in a small quantity of mercy. You cannot expect even a small quantity of mercy from Shylock. That's why, Antonio, I feel very pity. I feel very sorry for you. This is what Duke's dialogue. Now let's see how Antonio is going to respond to Duke's kind words towards Antonio. Here, Antonio says to Duke, I have heard your grace has taken great pains to qualify his rigorous course. Rigorous course means strict court procedures. Okay, rigorous course means strict court procedures. Now, Antonio says, I have heard, dear sir, your grace, I have heard that you have already taken much pain. You have already tried your level best to qualify his rigorous. You have tried your level best to, make this strict court, procedures into very easy and save me. I have already heard that, sir, that you tried your level best to confess Shylock and to have mercy on me. I have heard it. You have taken a great pain. And then he says, but since he stands abjurate, and that no lawful means can carry me out of his envy's reach. He says, though you have tried your level best, still Shylock is very abjurate. Abjurate means, adamant, stubborn. So you have tried your level best, but Shylock is still very stubborn. He is very adamant. That's why no lawful means, there is no any lawful, legally you cannot save me from Shylock's envy's reach, his anger. So you cannot save me. Nobody can save me. No law is capable to save me from Shylock's envy, Shylock's anger. This is what Antonio wanted to say. All right. He says that I have already came to know that you tried your level best you have tried your level best to save me from Shylock's clutches of stubbornness and anger and envy, but it's not possible. No law is capable to save me. And now then he says, out of his envious reach, I do oppose my patience to his fury. See, now I am going to face Shylock's fury. I have already prepared myself to oppose Shylock's anger, his fury, his furious anger. And I'm armed to suffer. Armed here means I have already prepared myself. I have already prepared myself to suffer with a quietness of spirit. I have already prepared myself, to suffer his anger, the quietness of the spirit. Quietness of the spirit means very calm and without asking a single question, without any regression. I am going to face his anger. Why? There is another factor also behind this dialogue. Why? Because Antonio, of course, losing life is very hard for a person. It's really very, very, painful. If somebody tells me that I am going to be killed tomorrow, of course, I will be restless. But in Antonio's case, story is something different. Antonio, why he is sacrificing his life? He is sacrificing his life for one of the best persons in his life. He is going to sacrifice his life for Bassanio, whom he loves so much. So it's a kind of sacrifice that Antonio is doing. That's why Antonio is, from one side, he is happy. Okay. See, the Merchant of Venice is not the story of romance between Bassanio and Portia. This is a story of great sacrificial love of Antonio for Bassanio. So in one side, Antonio is so happy that he is going to sacrifice his love for his best friend, his most loving noble, his most loving kinsman, his most loving friend, Bassanio. That's why he says that I have already prepared myself to suffer, his fury, suffer his envy, suffer his anger with quietness of my spirit. The very tyranny. Tyranny means cruelty. Okay, the very tyranny and the rage of his, the very anger and the cruelty of the Shylock, that I'm going to face it. I'm going to face it with calm and quiet, without any questions. Very happily, I have prepared myself to face it. Now Duke says, okay, go on and call the Jew into the court. And the Duke is saying to one of the court officials, some of you go and call the Jew here. Who is the Jew? Shiloh. Some of you go and call the Jew here. And then Salarian between says, he is ready at the door. Salarian says, Shylock is already ready at the doorpost. He is waiting for the call of the Duke. He comes, my lord, and by the time Shylock is coming to the court. And now the scene is going to be so much interesting. You know why? Because Shylock comes with such a great, envy, and he wants to take revenge on Antonio. And now in one side he is going to be standing and asking, demanding a very very strictly he will be asking for Antonio's a pound of flesh. I cannot be compromised unless you allow me to take a pound of flesh from Antonio. In another side, poor Antonio and his friends are standing, and his friends are asking, begging Shylock to show mercy. And in between, Bassanio also will try. Bassanio will try to give the double amount of the money, the triple amount, the 10 times more, the money. He will say that I can give you how much money you want. But Shylock is not even, taking the money. But there is a question. See, if Shylock take a pound of flesh from Antonio, what is it good for? It's good for nothing, right? What he will do with a pound of flesh from Antonio? But now he could take money, and money will be useful for him, right? But the pound of flesh from Antonio is not at all useful. So what he will do with it? So this is a great question, and that question will be answered as we go ahead. All right. Now Salario says that Antonio is on the doorpost and he has already reached the court. Now the scene is going to be more interesting. Enter Shylock. Okay, Shylock entered the court. Now when Shylock entered into the court, the Duke says to the court officials, make room. Make room means make arrangements for Shylock. Okay, make arrangements for Shylock and let him stand before our face. And he says, let him stand before my face. Let him face me. Make arrangement for Shylock. Let him face me. And now the second part of the dialogue is to Shylock. Okay, first part is to the court officials, make arrangement for Shylock, and the second part of the dialogue is to Shylock himself. Duke says, Shylock, the world thinks, and I think so too, that though but leads this fashion of thy malice. Fashion of thy malice means the show of the cruelty. The show of cruelty to the last hour of act, and then this thought that it's show thy mercy and remorse more strange is thy strange apparent cruelty. Okay, see, now it's interesting. The Duke says, Shylock, the world thinks, the world is thinking, and not only the world, even I am also thinking that though the but leads this fashion of thy malice, the cruel act you are doing, that you will lead it to the last hour of act. You will continue your cruelty to the last hour of your action, the last hour of act in this court. So it means that all the world and even me, we are thinking that, we are expecting, Shylock, you will show your malice, you will show your cruelty to the last hour of this act, and you will show mercy. So you're gonna play with us. This is what we are expecting. Okay, the world and even me, we are expecting that Shylock, you will continue your act of cruelty to the last act of this hour, and the show thy mercy and remorse. Remorse means pity. More strange than is thy strange apparent cruelty. Apparent cruelty means the cruelty that is appearing now. Apparent means that is appearing now. Apparent cruelty means the cruelty that is appearing now. So then you will continue the act of your cruelty to the last of the hour, and then what will you do? Then you will show mercy. So that is going to be very strange. You know why? Because showing mercy and showing pity from Shylock's side it's quite impossible, because many times they tried, right? Even the previous scene, the Salario says that Duke himself and the 20 merchants from the Rialto and the magnificence of the greatest spot, these people have gone to Shylock already to beg for Antonio, and Shylock was so much stubborn. Now showing pity from Shylock's side, it's going to be very strange. And that's why Shylock, me and the world, or the world and me, we are thinking, we all think that you will continue your cruelty to the last of your act, and the climax you will show mercy, which is very strange, to the apparent cruelty, to the cruelty which is appearing now. I hope you understand. Show thy mercy and remorse more strange than is thy strange apparent cruelty. And where thou now exact the penalty, which is a pound of this poor merchant's flesh. See, how will you show the mercy? That you will refuse to take the forfeiture. What is the forfeiture? What is the penalty? A pound of flesh from this poor merchant. Shylock, we expect the last moment you will show mercy, you will stop your cruelty, and that you refuse to take a pound of flesh from this poor merchant. And not only that, thou will not only lose the forfeiture, but touch with a with human gentleness and love. Not only that we expect that you will refuse to take a pound of flesh from Antonio, but we expect that you will be touched with a human gentleness and love. So something more the Duke is expecting. Okay, the first thing, the Duke expected that he will stop his cruelty and he will forgive and he will refuse to take a pound of flesh from Antonio. That is the first thing, that the expectation. The second expectation is that you will be touched with the human gentleness and love. For what? You see the next part, forgiving or forgive a moiety of the principal. See, moiety means a part. Moiety means a part. Principal here is the principal amount, or the main amount, or the the amount which Shylock has given to Bassanio and Antonio. How much it is that? 3,000 rupees. A moiety means a part of these 3,000 rupees. The part of this principal amount. So what is the gentleness, the human gentleness and the love that the Duke is expecting? That you will forgive a moiety. You will forgive a portion or a part of the 3,000 ducats. Not only you will refuse to take a pound of flesh from Antonio, but also you will refuse to take a part of 3,000 ducats from Antonio. The reason he says, glancing an eye of pity on his losses that have laid so huddled on his back. How will you refuse to take this money? Because glancing an eye of pity. Glancing means look at Antonio with eyes of pity. Have a glance of pity on Antonio. Look at him mercifully. To the loss that happened to Antonio, that is all shipwrecked. And for a royal merchant, if he loses his, his investment and he has no money, then what is more worse thing can happen to his life? So have a pity, have a glance of pity on him and look at the losses that happened on him, the losses that huddled on his back. Huddled on his back means which pressed on his back, which is on his back, the great loss that is pressed on his back. Look at that with the eyes of pity and forgive a part of 3,000 ducats from Antonio. And now enough to press a royal merchant down and pluck commiseration of his state from brassy bosoms and rough hearts of flint. Now enough, means enough to press a royal merchant down. The great, the loss happened to Antonio, which is already pressed on his back. That is enough to put a royal merchant down. Shylock, you don't have to take a pound of flesh from Antonio. You don't have to kill him. Why? Because he's already ruined. The great loss happened on his back. The great loss happened to him. That is enough to press a royal merchant down. That's enough. You don't have to take a pound of flesh from him. Why? Because he's already destroyed. The great loss happened to him is enough to press a royal merchant down. And to pluck a commiseration of his state. Commiseration means drop pity. That great loss happened to Antonio. That is enough for any person to draw commiseration, to draw pity on Antonio. Doesn't matter how much rage you have for him, doesn't matter how much envious you are, doesn't matter how much you hate Antonio, but look at the hate, look at the loss happened to Antonio. That is enough for any person to draw pity on Antonio. And then he said, from brassy bosoms and the rough hearts of flint. Brassy bosoms, brassy is a metal, right? The bosom, the heart which is so hard as metal. The heart which is very hard as the metal brass, and the rough hearts of flint, such a stony heart, such a rough and tough and stony heart which can never move with human emotion. See, even if you are a person with such a hard hearted like the brass, or even if a person with such a hard stony heart which has no human emotions, but when you look at the loss happened to Antonio, that is enough to draw pity on him. And from stubborn and Turks and Tatars, from stubborn Turks and Tatars. What is Turks and Tatars? Turks and Tatars are actually kind of Asian games. It's a nation race played and believed that it's a race with this uncivilization. It's a race. It's a race practiced in Asian countries. It is believed by the Elizabethan era. It is believed that it's a race of uncivilization. People behave without civilization here. So even if you are uncivilized, even if your heart is very hard as brass and your heart is so stony and you have no human emotion and you are very stubborn and you behave uncivilized, doesn't matter. When you look at Antonio's loss, the loss is enough to put down a royal merchant. So you don't have to take a pound of flesh from Antonio. And then he continues, to office of tender courtesy, we all expect a gentle answer due, See, we expect a tender courtesy from your side, from having a stubborn status, we want you to, look at Antonio and consider him very tenderly, with human feelings. That is what we expect. We all expect a gentle answer due, and we all, the world and even me, we are expecting a gentle response from your side. Now, this is a great exhortation the Duke has given about Antonio to Shylock, that by hearing it, that he may feel mercy. Any person, even by reading this dialogue, and you guys may feel pity on Antonio, right? But let's see how is going to be Shylock's reaction towards it. How Shylock is going to see this one, okay? Shylock says, I have possessed your grace. I have possessed means here I have informed, okay? I have informed your grace. What I purpose here means, what is my intention? I have already informed you about my intention, and by our holy Sabbath have I sworn to have the due and forfeit of my bond. Now Shylock says that I have already sworn. It is actually my oath on the holy Sabbath. See, for a Jewish person, holy Sabbath, that is the seventh day, okay? The Saturday is very, very important for him. Why? Because Saturday is a religious day for him. The holy Sabbath day. The Sabbath day is very religious day for him. For a Jewish guy, the Shabbat day is a religious day for him. So in Shabbat day, if he takes some covenant, if he takes some oath, the oath has to be taken very seriously. Why? Because this is an oath that he makes with himself and God. It's a covenant he makes with himself and God. So if you take a promise, if you have done a promise to God, you cannot compromise with that, right? That's why Shylock says, I have taken an oath. I have, sworn. I have taken an oath on holy Shabbat to have my forfeiture. So even if you ask me to show mercy on Antonio, even if I move with mercy and pity, I cannot refuse to take a pound of flesh from Antonio. Why? Because this is a oath I have made with God on holy Shabbat day. See, now it will become more serious. It means Shylock, even if Shylock himself wants to forgive Antonio, he cannot. Why? Because it's a oath. This is an oath he made with his God. Now then he says, if you deny it, let the danger light upon your charter and your city's freedom. Charter means, charter is a document that shows the freedom of Venice. Okay, charter is a document that gives the freedom of Venice. If you will not give my justice, if you will not allow me to take my justice, damn to the freedom of Venice. This is going to be a great dangerous thing to the freedom of Venice. Now there is another historical context you guys have to know. You know why? Because Venice is actually a center of trade. Okay, people come from different parts of the world. The merchants comes from different parts of the world to Venice for the business. Now that's why the city is very rich. The financial status of the city, the economical or the financial status of the city is depending on the trades, and that's why the foreign merchants are coming to Venice. So many, if the foreign merchants stop coming to Venice, the financial status of the city will go down. That's why the Venetian law is very biased to the foreign merchants. Keep in mind that Venetian law is very biased to the foreign merchants. Why? Because if the foreign merchants cease to come to the place, if the foreign merchants stop to come to the place, then the economic status of the city will go down. That's why, you cannot say to Shiloh, you cannot, the Duke cannot deny Shylock's justice, Shylock's, demand for the justice. It's going to be a threatening even to the status of the city. And then he says, so you will ask me why I rather choose to have a weight of a carrion flesh. Carrion flesh means rotten flesh. So you may ask me why I need a carrion flesh. You may ask me why I want to take a pound of flesh from Antonio, since it is not useful, right? Will somebody eat human flesh? No, right? We are not cannibals, right? So we are not going to eat his food, his flesh. So Shiloh is not going to eat Antonio's flesh. So you may ask me why I need his flesh. Rather taking 3,000 ducats, if I take 3,000 ducats from Antonio, of course I can use it. But if I take a pound of flesh from Antonio, what will it be, what will it be used for? So it's good for nothing, right? That's why he say, you may ask me why I need this, carrion flesh than to receive 3,000 ducats. I will not answer that. So if you ask me I will not answer that. Now, why should I answer you? I'm standing for my justice. If you ask me some questions, if you are asking me why I, want to take a pound of flesh from man, why should I answer you? This is my justice. I will not answer that. But say it is my humor. But take it. It's my humor. So I want it because I'm taking it because I want it. It's my humor. It's my entertainment. It's my fun, and I want it. The real meaning here is that I'm taking a pound of flesh from Antonio because I want it. There is no more explanation to that. Okay, I want a pound of flesh from Antonio, so I'm taking it. And then he says, "Is it answered? Are you answered? What if my house be troubled with a rat, and I be pleased to give 10,000 ducats to have it banned?" See, the next logical question he is asking, think if my house is troubled or disturbed with rat, and I'm spending how much money? 10,000 ducats to kill the rat. See guys, if you want to kill a rat, you know that it will not even cost you $100 to buy, a rat poison. Even no, maybe 10 or 20. It doesn't cost more than that. And Shylock says, in my house to kill a rat, I'm spending how much? 10,000 rupees. And 10,000, money, 10,000 ducats, I'm going to spend it. Who will ask me? No one, because it's my money and my wish how to spend it. The same way, this is my flesh, according to the law, according to the agreement, and don't use a pound of flesh is mine. And it's my wish to whether to take it or not. So this is what is logic. You understand? And then he says, to have a band. What are you answered at? Is your question answered? Is your question answered? And then he says, some men that are loud, not a gaping pig. Some that are made if they behold a cat, and others when the bagpipe sings in the nose cannot contain themselves. For affection masters its passion. Next, another logical question Shylock is saying that, okay, there are some people, they love not a gaping pig. There are some people, people eat pork, right? Pork. So gaping pig is actually a pork, it's roasted in a pork with its mouth open. I can show you guys. See here, you can see a roasted piglet picture there. It's a pork meat, it has its mouth, it's roasted and its mouth is open, right? This is called gaping pig. There are so many people, they don't like gaping pig. Usually, so many Christians in Europe, they eat, pork meats. Now, there are some people, they don't like it. If they don't like the gaping pig, can you ask them that why don't you like gaping pig? So it's their wish. And then the same way he's saying that there are some men, they go crazy, they become mad when they see a cat. And others when the bagpipe sings. So this is what the bagpipe, okay? Did you guys see that? This is bagpipe. See, a man is blowing a bagpipe here. So this is what bagpipe. This is actually blown during the, this is used during the funeral services, okay? Funeral services. And is there be somebody, can there be somebody, who get frightened by hearing this, by hearing the music which is played during the funeral? No. So, but Shylock says there are some men, they don't like even the voice of the bagpipe. They cannot control themselves. And then some people, when they look at a poor cat, a small, harmless cat, they go crazy. And there are some people, they don't like gaping pigs. So it's their wish, right? It's their wish. That's why he continues dialogue saying that for affection masters often passions. See, affection masters passion. It means that personal inclination is the base of people's, passion, people's emotions, and people's likes and dislikes. Personal inclination. For example, see, this is just an example, okay? If you guys like dogs, if you like dog and your brother or sister, he or she doesn't like dog, and when you walk in the street, you see a dog is, drawn into the water. The dog is in the water. And if you like, since you like the dog, you will go and save the dog. But what about your sibling who doesn't like the dog? He doesn't even mind, right? So that's why the personal inclination is the base of humans' likes and dislikes. So some people may like gaping pigs, some people don't like. Some people like cats, some people go crazy by seeing a cat. Some people just very normal when they hear the bagpipe is used, but there are some people, they cannot control themselves when they hear bagpipes. This is people's choice. It's their personal inclination. This is what Shylock wanted to say. And then he is saying that sways it to the mood of what it likes or lots. Lots means dislikes, okay. His personal inclination depends, okay. His dislikes and likes. Lots means dislikes. Likes and dislikes depends on a person's, affection, the person's personal affection. And then he says, now for your answer, as there is no firm reason to be rendered why he cannot bide a gaping pig. See, this question cannot be asked. If you meet a person who does not like the gaping pig, and if you ask him why you don't like gaping pig, why you don't like a gaping pig, this question cannot be answered. And then the next question, why he a harmless necessary cat? If some people, they look at the cat, poor harmless cat, and they go crazy. If you ask them why you are going crazy by seeing a cat, he cannot answer it. Why? Because it's his personal inclination. It's his a personal affection. And then he says, why he a woolen bagpipe? A person who cannot contain himself when he hear the sound of the bagpipe. If you ask him why it is happening, he cannot answer it. And then he says, but of force must yield to such a inevitable shame as to offend himself being offended. If you ask these people why they like it or why they don't like it, a firm answer cannot be given. But if you force them to give the answer, you are offending them. You are offending them. If you like to eat, you like to eat some sweet things and you don't like sour things, and somebody asks you why you like to eat sweet things, you cannot give a proper answer. It's your personal choice. But still, if I am forcing you to, ask you, if I'm forcing you to give me the answer, then I'm offending you. So when people, being forced to give answer to their personal likes, they are being offended. So what they do, they try to offend back. This is what Shylock wanted to say. To such an inevitable shame as to offend himself being offended. So it's very shameful things for him to offend himself. Some people have some personal choices, but if you are questioning it, it's a very shameful thing for him to offend himself. Okay, and then he has to offend himself. And now offend, so can I give no reasons? That's why I cannot give reasons why I want a pound of flesh from Antonio. Nor I will not, and I will not give an answer. More than a lodged hate and a certain loathing. Lodged means deep. More than a deep, hate and a certain loathing. Loathing means disliking. More than a deep hate and disliking I have for Antonio. I have for Antonio that I follow this a losing suit against him. Are you answered? See, a losing suit. Why Shiloh calls it as a losing suit? Losing suit means if Shylock take a pound of flesh from Antonio, this is good for nothing. He cannot use it, right? And he loses his money. If he take 3,000 ducats from Antonio, this is useful for him. This is useful for him. So something gain, he can have something gain. But if you take a pound of flesh from Antonio, then it is useless. So that's why when you take a pound of flesh from Antonio, this is a losing suit for him. It's a losing suit for him. You understand? I hope you understand. Against him, are you answered? Is your question answered? See, very logically, Shylock defended himself. Okay, guys, see, this video already crossed 30 minutes. The video has gone beyond 30 minutes. So let it be the first part, okay, and I will make the second part continuing from where we have stopped. All right, guys, otherwise it will be a difficult job for me to upload it, and you guys also will have a very tough time watching it. Okay, so this is going to be the first part, and you can go to the second part of this video for the continuation of the explanation. Hope this video was useful to you. Okay, if this video was useful to you, please like this video, and if you're very first time in my YouTube channel, please subscribe my channel. That's how you can help me and prefer this channel to your friends. All right, guys, till we see next time. Bye.